from. My name is Anamaria. I am your host today together with Judit. If you can wave at the camera, Judit. Yay! And then Grace. Hi, Grace. Yoo-hoo! All right. Yes, keep their location going in the chat. And as a means of check-in, well, today we're spending 2 hours together. If you can spare 2 hours of your time, we're going through a workshop. It's going to be pretty hands-on. And it is an exploration of a bit of a journey. So it's all about transitioning. And today we're going to explore where each and one of us is coming from. When we're transitioning from something. Then we're going to explore and see towards what we are transitioning. And we're going to play a bit in the L&D ecosystem, the way we've mapped it and understand it. And we're going to tell you all about that. And then we're going to check our backpack and get ready for the transitioning journey. So these are like 3 big pieces of the workshop today. And the first thing before we kick us off, it's interesting to learn a bit about the room's transition story. So how are you transitioning from outside L&D, like outside the industry, into L&D? So from any type of other roles that are not related to L&D, within the industry, from one role to another, from an internal L&D role to a consultant role or freelancer, or from a consultant freelancer into an internal L&D, so the other way around. So the poll works. You can just click on one of the options that applies to you. We are gathering from all over Europe. We have Boston, Rose, Boston. Oh, it's very early for you, right, Rose? I think. We've got Vienna, Berlin, Budapest, Bucharest. Hey, Diana. Valen, 6 in the morning. My God, Rose. I hope you have a strong coffee next to you. All right. So we have from outside L&D into L&D, the majority of us. Within L&D, one role to another. And then we have, well, I just had to pick something here. And then Carol from internal L&D to consultant and the other way around. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to close the poll now and kill the music. All right, so I do have to say that the journey today is specifically tailored for those of us that are coming from outside L&D into L&D, particularly or specifically this mapping of the ecosystem. It's very challenging when you start to explore the L&D world because there are, in the bucket of L&D, there are so many roles. And then a role title can mean very different things from company to company. So that makes it very hard to know where am I going and which role should I pick and for what should I apply and so on. So our hope is that we're going to make that challenge a bit easier today. And to kick us off, I am passing the talking stick to Judit. And we are going to work in a big Miro board today. And so I will invite you all to join us there. Because it's quite a big board, I'm not going to open it in Miro, in Butter. So I'll just ask you to copy the link and put it in a browser.
And probably it will take some moments to load, because for me it also took some moments with Butter. But anyway, so hi, I'm Judit. I am actually based right now in Budapest, and I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for being with us today. And as Anamaria said, like, firstly, we were having people in mind who are going from outside L&D into L&D, but anyway, whenever you are trying to find your path, one of the first things is to see, like, okay, where do I come from? So this is what we are going to take a look at in the Miro board. And I also cannot see if all of you are there, but we are going to do an exercise which is called the River of Life. So once you will be inside this Miro board, you will see kind of like a river, And we have an example with Post-its, where you see that, so there are yellow Post-its, there are 2 questions, and there are pink Post-its too. Yes, I'm seeing you arriving in the Miro board. Amazing. And we are going to give you some time to first think about it, like what were the key milestones on your path. And this is, of course, we are firstly focusing on your career, but don't think strictly in terms of your CV, okay? Because sometimes you don't put important experiences from voluntary work to your CV, or something what you did, what was meaningful for you, okay? So think a bit more broad. What are the things that had an impact on your life? And also just think about, maybe there will be some examples of you that you got married, maybe your business already failed, maybe you changed countries, maybe you went to, I don't know, Ireland, and then you were volunteering, and then you realized there is something what you really, really like to do there as a skill. So, and the second part is going to be on these light pink Post-its, is what were the skills that you were using there? And we are going to give you 15 minutes for that. And this is the explanation. I'm going to check a little bit, is this clear, or is there anything else I should add? I can see now the board too. Okay, in the butter. Yes.
I share this here so that everyone sees.
With that,
all right. So
fantastic.
Let me quickly explain how the board works, everyone. So this is an example of this river of life that Judit was mentioning. Every single one of us has a path, a life before today, right? Jobs, roles, life experiences that have taught us things. The goal of this activity is to really map these key milestones in our lives that make us who we are today, and then try to see which are the skills that we have learned as a result, the skills that we think are very valuable, useful, because our goal later on will be to look at these skills and see which ones of them are transferable to a potential future L&D role. So keep that in mind as you're mapping. And if you zoom out, so Miro, if you're unfamiliar with the tool, it's a virtual whiteboard tool, and you can zoom in and out and kind of pinch your way through that with the mouse or with your scroll board, or how it's called. So you can go in and out and zoom in and out, and there are about, 60, 70, 80 rows here. So each and one of you will claim one of these rows, because these are the activities. We're going to come back to that. So I see someone here claiming their row. So all I have to do is double click on a sticky note, and that's how sticky notes are working. You're double clicking, and then you're adding your name. Remember the row you picked, because we're going to come back to it. So remember, Kata was on row 3, and then someone, Anamaria, was on row 5, and so on. So remember the row you are in. Once you've claimed a row, this is the first activity. This is a bit of a map. This is your life's river so far. And all you have to do is drag and drop a yellow sticky note for a milestone, and a pink sticky note for a skill, a task, something that you excelled, something that really brought you energy, something that you took away from that life experience, or job, or role. Okay, before I start the timer, are there any questions? You can unmute. The mic and camera controls are to the left side of the screen. 15 minutes. Let me see. Yes, I think that's what Judit said. Okay. So the timer is on. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat as well. I'm going to continue sharing my screen in case any of you has trouble with Miro board. I don't want this to be a frustration for you. And so you can also do this exercise on a sheet of paper, okay? So I'll just share. I'll put some music for us. I'll unmute Grace because I hear her typing. All right. You have full control over the music that you're going to hear in a second with the controller pad. Camera should be working more, but it's going to be very hard for you on such a small screen to type. So we're going to be working a lot in Miro. And so either you want to take notes on in somewhere, if you're on the go, if you can take notes on a notepad, or if you take notes on a note app. But this is very active workshop, so there's not going to be any slides. We're going to be doing some work. Okay. That's okay, Alison. Don't overthink it. Go for the memorable, the joyful, the spikes of your life so far, the things that kind of had an impact on you as well. All right. I have a few more people coming in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Polly. I see your message. Find the Miro link in the chat, please. Claim one of the rows that was not claimed by a person and add your name to a sticky note. And we are mapping the river of our life, the experiences, the peaks, the highs, the things we've explored professionally, personally, and what were the skills that we flexed through them. So each and one of you are working on one of these little rivers of life, and you're dragging and dropping a yellow sticky note to explain or map a moment, particular moment, a highlight of your life, and then use the pink sticky notes to map out what skills did you use or learn in that particular moment. And let me know in the chat if anyone has any questions. We're approaching the 6-minute mark, so six more minutes to go. And this Miro board is going to stay open, so you can come back to it afterwards as well and fine tune and add things and keep continuing the reflection. The last 2 minutes. Prepare to wrap up. Take up the last notes.
All right, so the time is up, and just a little reminder that now I was seeing your names, and then I came across some names whose name I saw on Wednesday when we had the first panel event. And this is actually an exercise what Millie and Anna were talking about before you start to build a career portfolio or a spiky career. Like, they actually said the same, like, just sit down, write a list of what are actually the skills that you have used, what are the experiences you have been through. And the time was now really short, so even though you didn't finish, great job. And now we are going to let you a little bit talk about it. How was this exercise? So we are going to put you into breakout rooms. And the question is, how was this? How was doing this for you, even though you haven't completed? And is there anything surfacing from this? And maybe one group is going to be 3 people. I actually right now I'm not sure. Maybe it's going to be only pairs. But you have 5 minutes for this. So please, mind the time, and then we are going to see you back here.
All right. We're spending 5 minutes in pairs or groups of 3. When you're in the breakout, if there's anything that it doesn't work, somewhere to the right side of the screen, you have a little hand icon. Click that, and I'll join you in the breakout room. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Enjoy sharing. Hey, Mehdi, I got a glimpse of you. All right. Everyone was sucked back in. Welcome, everyone. Christy, I gave you the facilitator star, so I saw you were paired in a breakout. So I hope you made some great chat, great conversations. Welcome back, friends. So this was the river of life. Again, the Miro board is there, open. You can always take this activity and do it on your own and kind of give it a thought and take some time. Obviously, we only covered it in 15 minutes. It requires a bit more time to go back and kind of map all the areas and all the memorable, meaningful, impactful moments of our life, personal and professional. And with that, we're going to come back to these. So keep them in mind, somewhere in the back of your mind. And I will share my screen to take you to our second piece. And I also actually wanted to start a timer for myself because I talk a lot. And I need some guardrails to make sure that we stick on time. We've got a lot on the agenda, a little bit short. I know, Julianne, we have a lot to cover. And so I do want to mention this. It's a taster of the things. We could take 8 hours to go really in depth and have conversations and analyze and coach one another. But we thought that might be a bit intense for an online workshop. So 2 hours is the max we do online for our cognitive abilities. So I want y'all to focus a little bit on my screen as I'm sharing it in Butter, and leave Miro to the side. You're going to come back to this because I want to draw your attention to this little map that we've done here. We've built, and I can tell you what this is all about. So we call this the landscape, and it is, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think one of the biggest challenge of our industry whenever you're trying to pivot into L&D, but even internally, if you're working in one of the roles and you would like to change and move in a different path, it's quite hard to know where to move, what to do, which roles to pick. Different roles have different names, and so you might find a job description with the same responsibility being called A and B called B at a different company. The same way, if I say I'm an L&D manager in company A and company B, my tasks might look very different. There are L&D managers that have a team and lead a team. There are L&D managers that have no team, so they don't have direct reports, and so their tasks are very different. So as we're going to explore this map, take this with a pinch of salt. This is a way in which the three of us have thought that might be useful to try to understand a little bit the madness of the roles and types of jobs you might be interested in. And to simplify this all, and we can have a lot of conversations here, so feel free to keep the chat going if there's anything that kind of jumps at you. We worked on this, let's say, quadrant. So we have 2 axes, and then we've plotted the most common roles inside this quadrant for us to explore. And so the x-axis is on one side, we have the very strategic roles. And so strategic roles here are really roles in which you have to keep the overview, you're working a lot on goals, there's a lot of stakeholders involved, you're thinking in systems, you're constantly having this big picture and bringing all the puzzle pieces together. Potentially you're leading a team. This is a more complex role where you're coming back from strategy, back into operational, and back again. And on the other side of the axis, we have operational. This is very much you're owning a piece of the puzzle that is yours. You have ownership on that. It's really hands-on. You're going into detail, going to depth. You're an expert on that piece of the cake. You're delivering your creative, your hands-on at your desk or in your role creating the value that you're supposed to be creating. So these are the extremes, and we try to map roles in between them. There are roles that are very much operational, there are roles that are very strategic, and there are roles, for example, I was an L&D manager, but I didn't have a team. And so I was constantly going between the strategy and the operation. I was the one planning and I was the one doing. And so that's why I say take it with a pinch of salt, because it depends from big company, big budget, small budget, etc. On the y-axis, we looked at roles that are rather technology focused, and maybe this is not the right word, but by technology focused, these are really the people that are behind the scenes. They are deep in data analysis, tools, processes. They're the ones that are trying to actually look at ways of working, look at the tools and systems that we're using, look at the data and try to make sense of it, and then create value from that perspective. It is people focused, but potentially these roles are not in direct contact with the people they're servicing every single day. And on the opposite extreme of the role, we call this the people focus axis or end. These are the roles that are very much front of the crowd. So you're in front of the crowd, you're surrounded by people in this role, you're coaching, you're facilitating, you're training, you are co-creating, you're collaborating, you're hosting, and it's a very human-centered way to design or approach the task. We really gave our best to try to describe these axes as much as possible. Oh, I'm running out of time. Okay. And so on top of this, we've plotted several roles. I don't even know how many we have. We went for the ones that are most common. And everything you see mapped in green are roles that we tried to bring a bit to life with a day in the life and map some of their skills. And so I'm stressing out because of the timer. But example, if I am interested in instructional designer in this map, I'm going to come back to this and click on that little arrow here. And now suddenly I can explore what a day in the life of a typical instructional designer might look like. Also, we have some images to kind of get for you to get a taste of what that might look like on a daily basis. Some mail skills and competencies, and in here example of courses and certifications. We're all invited to share the courses and certifications and good articles that we have found, and the three of us will add some content there as well. And then I'm coming back to the overview, and then maybe I want to see what a talent development specialist does and what's the day in their life and how that vibe is, what's the vibe that this role has, and then take me back to the overview. So you're kind of jumping into it. Everything that's purple is not mapped yet, but we really wanted to give you an idea of how you can think about these roles. So you go into the ecosystem first of all, and this is why this river of life map was very useful. Based on what you've mapped so far and the roles and the skills, if you think of these four axes, operational, hands-on, strategic, somewhere in the clouds, helicopter view, people focus, front of house with people, or back of house, technology, data, I'm at my desk, I'm doing my thing, etc. Where would you place yourself? Like in which one of the quadrants you say, this sounds more like me? There are people that are naturally inclined towards back end, towards front end, towards strategic, towards hands-on, operational, etc. This is an indication, like a heat map. Where would you like to go? Let's say that I am someone that likes to work on a strategic level, high overview, and then so people focused. These are some of the roles that I might want to explore. Now, the three of them, L&D manager, consultant, and the specialist, they are mapped. So I will just pick one of them, and I will deep dive into this and see how it feels. I will try to imagine and try this role on, this identity on. The same if you're moving in, if you're working in L&D and you're trying to move from, I don't know, a learning system administrator towards a training coordinator, or maybe towards a coach or experience designer. So you want to move from one quadrant to the other. We're going to take 10 minutes now to explore this area. And there's a lot of detail, and you can always come back to this. But for the purpose of today's activity, and just to get into the flow or the way we would go about picking the roles that match us best, I encourage you to land on one. So land on one grid dot that you then take 10 minutes to go through this and try to understand and see the main skills and competency needed and their task and what their day looks like. And latch on to that one. You can always change it, but for the purpose of today's workshop, latch on to one of these roles. All right. I'm opening up for questions before we start the timer. Any questions that we have here? I see you typing. Feel free to also unmute. Yes, there's someone. And I don't see you. Can Judith or Grace, can you give the... yes, I see it here. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My question is, so do we have 10 minutes to go through the general axis and then another 10 minutes to go through one specific role, or do we have 10 minutes to pick one and then keep that? Okay.
Correct. So as I explained, operational, strategic, people, technology, based on that, what's your vibe? Like and based on where you would like to go and what you've done so far and that river of life, where would you say that it's best matching you? I try to narrow down on that part of the area and then explore the roles that we have there. And again, not all of them are mapped, but if this is useful, we can continue mapping the rest of us. We really wanted to give an example. Does that answer the question?
You're
welcome. Okay, anything else? Yes, you will have access to the board. Yes, the document is there. Okay, fantastic. If you have any other questions, feel free to unmute or ping or put it in the chat. I'll start the timer for 10 minutes and I'll put in some music in the back end. Our only reading. Yes, actually, great point. As you are reading, thank you, Rafa. I almost messed this up. As you were reading, if you're landing, let's say, facilitator training, and you're reading through the day in the map and the skills and etc., think about what about this role feels familiar? What about this role is similar to something I've done before? And take a note somewhere on a piece of paper or on your Miro board, or keep that in mind. And think about the things you see there and you read there that are new, unfamiliar, and map those out. So as you explore a role, we want to see, this is something that I've done before, it's familiar, and this is something that it's foreign to me. And thank you for that, Rafa, because this was important. Okay, let's give this a go, and then we can fine-tune as we go. about 3 more minutes here to explore what is familiar, what is new, unknown with one of the roles you've landed on. All right. Time is up. Getting the music. Okay, we have 2 minutes before we move along. It's a paced day. We're pacing. I'm curious to hear how did this feel? Feel free to unmute or queue up or put it in the chat. Was it hard? Was it useful? What would be more useful? I know we haven't mapped all the roles. Is that useful? Should we continue to map them all? Talk to us. What did it feel like? Yes.
Is it me, I guess?
I only see RP, so I'm sorry, I have very little visibility when I'm sharing and so on. So RP, if that's you, then it's you.
Yeah, most probably. Hi, everyone. I even dropped a message on the chat, like, this is so great, especially the overview of a day in each of the roles. I know it's like a generic example, but it's so good to be able to zoom in and out, especially of the required like skills and knowledge. And moreover, the two questions, like what's familiar, what's unknown, also like connecting closer to the roles which are more interested, like, okay, maybe I'm missing 2 or 3 things, or maybe this one I'm missing more. And that when I was so enthusiastic about these 2 last exercises that that's why I share on the chat. It's so good. So yeah, sorry, I'll be rambling around now in a loop. That's my 50 cents.
Thank you. It's so nice. This makes us happy though, because it wasn't easy to put this together. It's like, how do we talk about it? So if this is useful, that makes us happy, and we'll continue working and expanding on this. Yes, Chloe. All right. One last voice, if there's anyone that would like to share, and then I'll pass. Very useful list. Yes. Okay. So mapping the roles, the ones that are not mapped would be useful. I take that as a reply, and we're going to continue to do that. Anything else here that has to be shared?
Can I hop in?
Huh?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I agree. It's like so useful to have it concrete. I'm wondering, it's so useful that I want to know if we'll still have access to this after the meeting.
You will.
Great.
Yes, you will have access to the Miro board forever, from now until forever. That was it? Perfecto. All right. Then I am passing it over to... Oh, I'm offline. Am I back? Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Okay. It's like I saw like you're offline. I'm passing it over to Grace for her to take it away.
Nice. Well, hi everyone. Time for me to take over. So I'm Grace, coming to you from Amsterdam. It's really, really great to see so many of you joining today. So you've now taken some time to think about your own career map. You've also learned a bit more about the different kinds of roles that are in learning and development. Obviously, just an intro, as Anamaria said, this Miro board will stay here. You will have more time to look into it in your own time. But now it's time to get a little bit of inspiration. So we now have 3 speakers who all transitioned from a role outside of learning and development into learning and development. And they are going to spend a few minutes sharing their story with you. So they're going to talk about what they were doing before, what sparked their idea to move into learning and development, and then they're going to talk you through some of the things that they did that helped them get there. So inspiration and new ideas as well. So they're going to talk each for around 8 minutes, and then there's going to be a couple of minutes for questions. So if you do have questions, you can unmute yourself, or you can put them in the chat. And yeah, so the first speaker that I'm going to introduce is Bogdan Nicola, so who I think is here.
Yes, he's here.
He's here.
I don't know if he's ready, though. I've seen him. Yes, he unmuted. Bogdan, are you with us?
Yeah, just looking for the buttons, dear. Just looking for the buttons. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's fun to play with a new tool, and man, it's good to see that map. Why wasn't this a few years ago?
Hey, it's still, if this is a thing, there's so much potential there. So I'm happy it's landing well. One thing that I want to mention, because I'll stop screen sharing, if you all go back to your row, so remember where you took notes, you can actually use the Miro board to take notes of the speakers if there's something useful they're saying, insightful, or that applies to your context. That's all I wanted to say, and now I'll stop sharing. There we go. Okay, Bogdan, I think it's you.
All right.
I'll start a little timer here just so we don't get lost.
Okay. Quickly. Hi, everybody. Grace, Anamaria, Judith, thank you so much for inviting me. Promise not to talk too slow and also not to talk too fast. So, in a nutshell, I used to be a technical support consultant for one of the companies producing semiconductors. Internal, external support. I have a technical background, mainly in sales, but then life happened, so we needed to relocate from Bucharest to Prague. That means I didn't know the language, I didn't know the industries, so I had to change the roles. Um, and of course, started as support. Um, but you know, we all want to grow. We all want to have new challenges. So when the technical trainer position was advertised, guess who applied? And it was quite a ride, yeah. I was 8 months into the company. I was a junior. I applied. We had an internal assessment center, and I was validated for the position. And then in 1 year, we had another opening for site trainer or training business partner. And again, I applied, stepped up, went through the whole assessment processes, and then started to work with from 30 people to 600 people, from purely technical training to facilitating internal, external sessions, implementing LMS solutions. I was quite a start. I'm not gonna lie, it was fun but scary at the same time. So um, there were a few things that helped me getting there. Um, what happened is that first of all, I tried to identify the skills that I'll need for each of the roles, and let's say, I took the time to study, to look into how I can refine the skills, and to, let's say, hone my performance. The second one was that I expanded my reach, I engaged more, I became more visible. And the third, last but not least, I was more involved and I started to take ownership. And I think that in everything we do, if we have this goal of 1% extra every day, that's going to help us. Now, this doesn't come. You have the river of transformation. Don't expect that the river will always be smooth water. One of the biggest challenges for me was the mindset, and especially we always do it like this. We always did it like this. We don't have resources. We don't have the time. Will this be? How do you calculate the ROI? Is this a good investment, and so on? And you also have the internal challenges. Am I the right one for the job? Yeah, we go through the assessment center, we go through the interviews, we go through the process. We know we've been selected for the skills and for experience, but when we start doing it, it's not really what was presented in the job advert, or is not exactly how it is. So that's also one of the challenges that I had. Now, to overcome all of this, first of all, I needed to find sponsors within the management team to identify the main pain points and identify, for example, how the new LMS solution can help us, everyone, company, overcome the main pain points. Work with the finance team, work with operations to build a customized ROI for the learning and developing projects. Then run a pilot, make sure it's successful, make sure you cover everything you need to cover in the pilot, and then you go forward. You take every challenges as they come by, and you try to identify the best way to go and overcome it. Now, just because we are aware of the time and I was being told to leave some room, in a nutshell, if you want to change roles, start with why, continue with how, and invest in yourself to be ready for when. It will come. That was pretty much it.
Nice. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, we have a few minutes now. Are there any questions?
I hope you do, because otherwise that means I was too fast.
We still have some time, so we can still pick your brain, Bogdan.
Definitely.
I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand, for somebody who is who wants to move into learning and development from an outside industry, what
Yeah.
is the recommendation you have? What are the first steps that they could take? I mean, it need not necessarily be like a professional degree or something, but what is your general advice for somebody who wants to move into L&D?
That's a great question. Um, I would advise to always start with the light. Identify in your background, in your experience, where have you done training, coaching? Who did you help? When did you transfer knowledge and how it was? When did you need to learn and what did you like about the process and what you dislike so you don't repeat the same thing that other did? Now, also, regardless, L&D can be in a lot of verticals, but once you choose a vertical, try to always map it against your past experience. If you're transitioning into L&D, but you stay in the industry vertical, you already have the experience. You need to refine on one set of skills. If you're moving towards a completely different industry, then you need to accumulate some information about that industry as well. But always map it against what you did at any moment. You will see situations and that happened. Okay, it was not exactly the same, but I had a similar situation in the past. Or somebody taught me and I liked it. So let's try to share that information in a similar way. Hope that answers the question.
Was that okay, Pradeep? Anything else to add there?
That was helpful. Thank you.
Fantastic. Anne-Marie, you've got the mic, and then I'm surfacing Celine's and Maxine's questions from the chat.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Bogdan, for having shared your kind of story. We are quite a lot in this industry, right? My question is, how do you differentiate? What are the kind of skills that now for the future of work we should be developing in order to stand out from the crowd and
right now see on this one I really like a few big authors or a few authors in the industry, and probably you already spotted Simon Sinek with Start With Why. I love the approach. Honestly, I don't try to differentiate. I try to improve myself. It's a zero end game. I learn from my session probably more from the trainees than they learn from me. If you see your role as a facilitator, as a you hold the compass and you hold for them the map of knowledge. You're just pointing the direction. They will go, they will explore, they will learn at different paces, they will learn in different styles. Your general role in L&D, regardless of the position, is to make sure that people can access that knowledge and make it as easy for them as possible.
It sounds to me a lot like facilitation. I know that that's very much linked to workshops and so on, but facilitating in general processes.
You're right. Sometimes it's facilitating. Sometimes just a training and delivering a training session is facilitating their access to your knowledge, to the way you structure your knowledge. It's still facilitating. It's basically we cater. Depending on the role, we have various actions, but we need to ensure a single line is that we can enable other people. So if we are getting better every day at enabling other people, then we get a difference. Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
We have, let's take maybe one more question. And afterwards, feel free to also kind of type. I see Celine's question goes to strategies for resources. Everyone else that has strategies, feel free to put them in the thread, in the chat. I'll surface Maxine's. Can you elaborate more on what did you do when you expanded your reach to be more visible? Like concretely, how did you do that?
You become more active. You become more active within the company. You become more active in other projects. You try as much as possible to, let's say, not necessarily to differentiate yourself, but to step into the spotlight. And one of the main ways is to take ownership. If you see that somebody's asking, you're in a meeting, somebody's asking who can do it, and okay, maybe you don't have to courage to say in the first second I'll do it, but when you waited 3 4 seconds and say, you can say I don't know how to do it, but if somebody would guide me, more than happy to put in the effort. Yeah, we don't need to know it right from the start.
Thank you. All right, Bogdan, thank you very much. I'm going to pop Bogdan's LinkedIn link in the chat so you can chase him and plan coffee chats with him.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Grace, over to you.
Nice. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Bogdan. That's great. So we now have our next speaker. It is Alicia Weissglass coming to us from all the way from Brooklyn in the US. So is Alicia here?
I'm looking for Alicia so that I can spotlight her. Yes. Highlight. Hi. We hear you. Hello.
Yay! Hello. I'm so happy to be here. This has been fantastic. Honestly, I'm like, okay, you don't need me, you need this activity. So this has been great. Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia. I am, as mentioned, here from Brooklyn, New York. I have a background in education and counseling and made the shift into corporate learning and development from there. So happy to talk a little bit about that. Let's see, my journey, actually in some of like facilitation connection probably started when I was in college, and I had like run a tour guide organization. I knew I loved these things, but always thought I wanted to work with young people. So continued my path in education and counseling, and really just found that I was doing so much adult work. I was coaching teachers, administrators, other helping professionals, and parents, that I found that I really wanted to chase that, and saw that that was an exciting thing that I was leaning into. And so that is a big piece of advice I always have, is like, find where your energy is going and find what's, kind of write off what's draining you and note what's draining you a little bit or what's taking away from you, and chase the energy as much as possible. And so that was really exciting once I decided I knew I wanted to move into the adult world. And so that I had to connect with lots of different people to learn what that meant. So because I was completely shifting industries, I had a lot of learning to do. So as I see all the certificates and what courses you can do and things like that, I'll try and pop in what I was able to connect with, because moving from education into the corporate space, definitely it's very different. And so I just jotted down, after speaking with Grace, like 3 big lessons learned through that process, or the things that really got me there. So the first was that I really had to shift my mindset from, I was in a space, and I think it's just real, right? Where sometimes you're like, I just have to get into the next thing, or I want to move away from where I am, or I know that this is what I want. And so that's the focus. And I really had to shift my mindset from, okay, I could do that job. We just saw there's like so many different roles in learning and development. And many of us could do many of them. And so had to shift my mindset from, I could do this, to I'd be really great at this, and why. So again, like, I wish I had that grid activity or matrix activity, because that will be something that I would recommend you really lean into. The second is that piece about the energy, right? So identify what's energizing for you. So I identified what I was really wanting to do with adults, which was a lot of building community through learning, and a lot of impacting culture through learning and facilitating. And I figured out how to do that in my role. So even though I wasn't responsible for teacher training or helping professional training, and actually the pandemic enabled this a little bit because people weren't rushing home, they were already home, and so I was able to facilitate some programs online. But I found a way to say, okay, I really want to facilitate adult learning, let's do it, and created 2 groups, totally volunteer, within my community. And I just want to name that, I was in a place where, like, that was really scary in the culture of my organization, and took a lot of, like, I found myself resistant to it in the beginning. I was working with a coach through it, and still to this day has been one of the best experiences of my life. So highly encourage trying to figure out where in your organization you could practice some of the skills. And then the last thing is that you really do have to, or in my experience, I had to really tell people how my skills would translate into the role I was applying for. And that took a lot of practice, especially not knowing what learning and development in the corporate space looked like. And so really translating, okay, I have been able to prepare for challenges when, you know, facilitating something in a classroom. I had to really like share how that would translate into the business that I was applying to, and every time I thought I was explicit, I had to be more explicit. So I think that was a huge learning for me. And combined with the fact that many people, when they hire or looking for learning and development, aren't quite sure, depending on the size of the company, what they're looking for. I found that was like an interesting piece to navigate too, especially I worked in a startup. And so we know we need learning, we know we need training, we don't know what that looks like. And so really translating how like both my, you know, character and my skills combined would help the organization thrive was really important. The last piece I have jotted here is like when you're looking for roles, or when I was looking for roles, as I was moving away from that shift of like, I could do this, to, oh no, here's why I'd be great in this. I really was able to ask questions around the audience when I was interviewing. Like, who are the people that I would be training? What does it look like? What's their experience? My last role was at an organization called Maven Clinic, where I trained people who were working with people going through like family building journeys and had to have like a lot of emotional intelligence. And so my counseling background coupled with my education was sort of like a perfect fit there. So really thinking about that, I feel was great for me. I wanted so many jobs that now in retrospect, I was like, well, that probably wouldn't have been the best fit, and helped me really find the right community for myself. And the last piece around obstacles, like outside of the translating skills, and really saying like, you know, I had to share, yes, I've worked with young people for a long time, but I'd also be great with adults in a business sense, is confidence, and knowing that like really leaning into some of this practice and understanding of the businesses, so that when you communicate with people, that it comes through that you're going to be able to kind of navigate all the change and embrace the role. I think that's it.
All right, you know what's up. Questions for Alicia? Thank you very much. This is great. This is for everyone working in education. Any teachers in the room? Anyone working in education trying to pivot to L&D? I know that's a very common use case.
Yes.
Or experience. Any questions? Feel free to pop them in the chat or queue yourself up for the mic. And Marie, comes to you.
Right. Alicia, really exciting. I really liked how you were framing everything and talking us through your experience. Thank you very much for that. I see on your LinkedIn, because I've already been checking you out in the meantime, that you have quite a lot of certificates, quite a lot of learning that you have experienced throughout. What's the kind of course that you've taken that really has advanced you? What's like the one course that you would say, gosh, I wish I had done this earlier, or everyone else out there should definitely be aware of this? Like, point us towards something that is mind-blowing.
Oh, that's so hard. I feel like everything hits at different points. I'm currently enrolled in a coaching program, and I'm like, I wish I did this in the beginning and did all of these things. I will say in the transition point, I took a course through ATD around like learning project management, which translated really well to the business. Like the business is really understood. It's like identifying what your edge will be. So I knew that people really don't understand education if they're not in it. Just like, when you're in education, I didn't understand business world. So I had to have something that connected me to the business world, and learning project management was really helpful for that. But other than that, I think there's so many different courses you could take. It's just about the communicating how it would impact the role and how you would use it in the role. That's important.
Thank you very much for that, Alicia.
Of course.
Alison, super fast. The mic is yours.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Hey.
Yeah, I guess mine was kind of similar. I'm also coming from the world of education, leading workshops in schools for teachers, a lot of facilitation. But so I guess I just wanted to know could you name like the top thing that got your skills to translate? Because like you said, I'm having a hard time, even though I know that my skills translate and I see it, I'm having a hard time getting others to see it. So what's the thing that like did it for you? Like, is it like an online more portfolio, or was it more this certain learning project management course, or was there like one thing that got the business world to say, oh yeah, actually I get her and I'm willing to take this chance on this, or I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I wish that there was like one thing that just popped. I will say I took a role that was focused on facilitation initially, which I think felt really clear, even though it was like probably a more junior role than, my experience was at the time. But I did just take it to get to that space and get the practice in the business sense. But I'm going to say, I think it's like about probably now connecting and networking and helping, to join in on communities like this where people get to know who you are and really understand learning and development. But I unfortunately don't think there's like one thing that'll help you get there. It felt a lot. I mentioned the Maven piece because it felt like that role was really made for my experience. And so if you can see or ask a little bit about the audience and why you are somebody that can connect to that audience, I think that could be really helpful.
Thank you.
All right, Vasya, I see your question in the chat. We're all going to go there and type and tell you what we all love about our jobs in L&D. Alicia, this was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Over to you.
Nice. Yeah, thank you so much. And also, a good point Judit just threw in the chat on this note of how to translate your story. The next workshop is all about storytelling and how to maybe communicate those transferable skills to recruiters and hiring managers. So keep that in mind for next week. We are on to our final speaker. So I will introduce Christian. Over to you.
There we go.
Hello, everybody. Christian here. Good to be present here together with you. I will try to explain you what was my transition to L&D. And I will say at the starting point for me, L&D is all over. So everything that I've done was L&D. But I will focus, of course, on the role that also named me as a L&D leader and give you the direction how I was reaching there, because there is some transition and some intention if you want to go to L&D, and I believe it's important to get a little bit of perspective if you want to go on L&D and why you are reaching there. Because in the point of view of L&D, we are a lot of activity we can do, and we are able to do it in our current role, even if we don't have the L&D name on it. So in 2004, I have starting like an engineer, and I'm transitioning L&D as a role in 2018. And I take the role of L&D leader, which I look on the graph that you have done, Anamaria, and with the team here. And it's an L&D manager type of role. And I look on the skills. I have all the skill there was in my agenda, because my activity was focusing on people, because I have a managed operation training center facility. I have trainers in my teams, and we have covering trainings and boot camps and development programs, tracking metrics, learning plans in LMS, in learning management system, And this was one aspect, concerning training aspect. And I have done also the part of strategic type of activity, because I have done frameworks, career management on several groups of engineering on the European level. And I have conversation with leadership, how to design it and how to qualify actually a policy for the early engineers reaching out to more experienced lead type of engineers, and then connect with other departments in the organization. And at the end, we have focusing how to do the European level type of policy to the global perspective of the organization. So I have done strategic, but I have done operational because I was in engineering. And since I was in engineering, of course, the operation on the qualification was still how we are managing our team in order to perform in their current roles. So we have done this type of qualification on several competencies. We have managed the gaps, and we have delivered, not only the training, but also support and engage on the onboarding type of program. So we have boot camps for students, and we manage it everything based on the organization need, because we have done the student boot camp, then internship, and then starting to support the part of the student. And we have managed also leadership type of programs. So develop our leaders and our team leaders. So I will say, in general, I have done an L&D manager type of role. But how I reached there? Because, from an engineer in 2004 to reach out to L&D manager covering this aspect, for sure you need to do some things. One of them, of course, is to build your competencies. Some competencies, will be require individual type of competencies, like how to manage a process, how to manage a system, how to standardize maybe. And I have done that in several of my jobs. The second one was regarding people, because if you don't manage people, you will not find out that you need to support them and develop. So the first role I have done as leadership around 2013 give me the insight I'm not enough. I'm the best professional in my team, but I cannot support the team as a team leader if I do not change, if I do not grow. So what I've done, I changed my mindset and I say, okay, I need to focus how I can support them. So that's why the training in my mind and the onboarding, the way I can support them was giving me the mindset to move forward. The second one was, okay, we are building our team, but we are growing and we need more competency. We need to change the way we are working. So development of the organization will be one aspect I would like to focus on. So I build several type of teams. We are managing in a different way. And going that, for in my mind, I will say where I can contribute more. And what is also satisfying to me to do, because it's also connected with what you want to do. For me, I want to contribute more. So if I look an opportunity, and when I change in a new organization, I look where I can contribute more. And one of the things in the new organization in 2017 was they have a program for students, but they don't have an agenda. We have deployed our students to the team leaders, and every team leaders have done something with them in 6 weeks. And when I have the time, I said, okay, can I try to build it? And I built it. And in the moment the position was vacant, who was the person who received the position? Was Christian. So this is the way I was focusing on, always to contribute more and always to, grow based on the needs and based on where I was always trying to focus how I can do a little bit more and how, I can support my team, myself, and the organization in general. And, that was a staying point on L&D, but now I'm in a different organization and I'm more focusing how I can contribute more in the community and connecting with education. And I have now a role like an L&D type of consulting, is future skill type of development role, but it's, sales technology because it's Microsoft. But it's also, collaborate with institution and work on the program that will be growing the competency. Even if it's technical, and I was technical, I was also people. If I look in your agenda, in my role, I was strategic, I was operational, I was people, and I was technology all over. But at the end, is based on, I believe, is based on what you want to do. If you are focusing and you want to support development, this is the right role to take action on, even if it's a different type of level of roles, instructor design and so on. And if you want to go on type of learning, it's okay. You can go on training, facilitating this type of activity. But for me, it's everywhere, L&D. So even if you don't have the roles, you can do it today. So this is my recommendation for you. And maybe you are already doing someone. If you have done a workshop in your team or for someone or for your child, you are L&D. And I will stop here for questions.
Thank you very much. All right. Questions for Christian?
I encourage you to put questions if you want. And I do not bite. No curiosity, nothing. If not, you can reach me afterwards in the LinkedIn.
Well, I think it's people also, I see someone's typing, so I think we also need some time to chew and digest on the things we've heard.
It's a lot.
So we have a minute here. If there's a question from Christian, feel free to, but otherwise you can always find him in the community and also on LinkedIn. L&D is everywhere. Comment, there we go. If we're humans, we learn, so we work in L&D.
And you can do it and L&D outside the office, together with us, several people from my side, we have developed the hub. We are working on the hub here in our city. So there is an approach, not necessarily to be connected with your current role or your organization, could be also outside.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Christian. And I see there are 2 questions, and unfortunately we have to move along, but Samira asks, future skills as L&D professionals. I think we had this one before, so we can actually type it in the chat. And then Carol has a reflection to what you just said. Thank you very much. And Grace, it's over to you.
Yeah. Okay, my mic is on. Good. Well, thank you so much to this. That was super insightful. And good to get some inspiration. So we're going back to our Miro board now for the next exercise. Where we are going to think a little bit about what is in our backpack. So if you think about the previous exercise before the speakers, we discussed the different roles in L&D, and you thought about one that could be interesting for you. You saw some of the things that you would do in this role and the skills and competencies that are needed. You then thought about what are some of the things that are familiar to you in this role. So maybe what are some of the things that you have done before in a previous role or volunteer work or in life in general that is similar that you could potentially bring into this role. So, for example, maybe you are interested in a learning analyst role. What's already in your backpack that you could bring into this role? So maybe, for example, in your studies, you had to work with data. Maybe you did some volunteer work where you had to work a lot with spreadsheets. etc., etc. And it can be anything. In the beginning, you can think really broadly. You can also pull inspiration from things you wrote in the career map or the life map. So this is one part, what's already in your backpack. So essentially, you're identifying those transferable skills. But at the same time, you also thought about what is unfamiliar for you. So while you think about the skills and experiences you already have, you can also identify what are some of the things that you still want to learn or do that could be relevant for the role that you've chosen today. So, for example, if it's the learning analyst role, it could be you still need to complete an online L&D analytics course because you haven't done that yet, for example. Now, these are the things that you will write down on your shopping list because you still have to go and get them so that you can then put them in your backpack. And so for this exercise, just stick with the role that you were working on before. Today, you're just going to try this exercise with one role. This as an example or practice. Of course, after the workshop, you can take all the time you need to do this for multiple roles and have more time to work on that. So for today, it's the role that you focused on before. You're identifying what's already in your backpack and then what's in your shopping list, or what you're going to put on your shopping list. Is this all clear to everyone? Any questions about this exercise? Bye, Alicia. Okay, if it's all clear, we've got 10 minutes on the timer to get started with this.
We've got about 3 more minutes here. All right. Okay, bye Ursa, bye Diana. We are approaching the end. And before we move on to our traveling questions and the checkout, I am curious to hear some voices in the room as of a reflection of this activity, the backpack and the shopping list, through the lens of the conversations and the exploration we had today. If there's anyone willing to share an aha moment or an insight or a little breakthrough you had in today's session and reflection. RP.
It's me again. I think for me, the highlight is even when we are trying to do maybe a career change, we need to fight our imposter syndrome, because I think I realized today with this exercise that most probably is the biggest blocker, because we had like the river exercise and we're like, oh wow, I had done that much and I had experienced all those skills that we don't think about it. It's dormant, as someone said in the room. And then now doing the shopping list and stuff like that is also like, maybe we are all closer some of us, closer to reach that transition in an easier way than what we were thinking about before, because I thought I was completely an outsider, and now like looking into all of that is just like, oh wait, actually I was even checking roles internally in the company at the moment to see if there's any L&D related position.
Go for it. All right, RP, thank you very much. B, I just see a B. You got the mic. I'm half blind here.
Oh no, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now.
Hi, it's Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
Okay, so for me, there are two things. One is I'm a person that really wants to have everything done already. So I'm a lot like, I want to have all of this figured out. And like doing the shopping list made me realize like it's a really long journey, and it's like a lifelong journey. So it's like, calm down. You can take it step by step and just learn to prioritize and see which things are important now and which things you can leave for later. And the other one, I forgot. So I'll just leave you with this one.
I love it. Your remark, Barbara, just made me think of what am I packing for? Am I packing for a month-long mountaineering through the mountains, etc.? Am I packing for a weekend? And can I stop somewhere along the way to add things to my shopping list, or do I have to carry everything from the get-go? So if we were to kind of continue with the metaphor, I think those are also some of the things that might be useful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great point. Thanks.
All right, there was someone else in the queue, and it is not, and I am passing the talking stick to Judit to close off with the last activity before the checkout. Judit, over to you.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you so much. So this is going to be a kind of, homework, let's say, but so we are going to use questions as a compass, because we were thinking about, let's not just set goals, but let's just collect like what are our questions that could guide us on this journey path on this 1 month. And why are questions great is that like it's totally different when you just say a sentence to yourself like, I want to reach this or that, as opposed to asking a question, because a question is like, it's our brain sometimes function as a computer. We put in the right questions, and then all of a sudden you will see that answers are starting to pop up everywhere, because you are focusing your attention in alignment with what you want. So I actually was crafting some questions for you as an example, because we are not having the time today to do this, but I'm sure you already have these questions with you that are like, how much is the salary, for example? What are, like what Rafa was saying, what are the roles which are available at the company right now? These are really good questions. And actually, just a little bit about why it's 40 is because how creativity works is like, like what comes out, the first 10 questions is the 10 questions which you already thought about before. So and they are great questions, but we would like to push you a little bit further to go with the 40. And you will see like, it's going to be a little bit difficult by the end to, oh my God, I cannot craft 40 questions. You will be able to do it. And then you will look back and it will make a lot of things clearer for you. So what are the questions? For example, I got inspired from the chat, from Celine and, for example, Elena, like, for example, how can I invest in myself? What would be the best course to take? How will AI impact the roles? What are the skills that can differentiate me? What is the one course that could really help me advance? What is my edge? How can I fight my imposter syndrome? How do I make myself more visible? So these are open questions. Of course, it's also good if you have more questions with the what, but also let's get inspired from Bogdan, like questions with the why, how, all of them are welcome. And this is it. So I hope you will have fun collecting it later. And of course, you can come back to the Miro board. And let's move to our checkout.
All right. So for the checkout, and this is why these traveling questions are useful, we've just kicked off the career bootcamp this week. We had a panel chat with Millie and Anna on Wednesday. Probably some of you were there. Today it's our direction charting. Where are we mapping? Where we are on the map? Where are we going? Where are we coming from workshop? And then we are continuing until the end of the month with a series of workshops based on the feedback that we gather from the L&D Shakers community, from those of you transitioning. So we have topics like career story building, where you're taking now all of these, your river of life, and then the roles you kind of identified with your traveling questions, your transferable skills, and we're learning to put them into a story. What is your story? How do we sell ourselves, promote ourselves? How do we talk about our experience so far? Then we meet with Emmy and we are talking about crafting our CV. We take that story and we put it into a format that is kind of generally accepted on the market, and that's the way we apply to roles. We then meet with Sonia and we talk about LinkedIn essentials for career switchers. So this is all about personal branding, learning out loud, sharing out loud, networking, etc. We are deep diving into networking as career accelerator with Judit and with Zoe. Zoe has transitioned from outside of L&D into L&D and has used communities to do so. We are talking about interviews and preparation for interviews with Nicolina. Now, when you're transitioning, you are in control of certain things and we don't have control of many other things. And so we have to flex our resilience muscle. That is truly a test in our ability to keep at it. Timmy talks about I Am Remarkable workshop. This is a workshop about imposter syndrome and how do we confidently talk about ourselves. And then we close with Sarah Huang, a beautiful metaphorical reflection of our journey. So this is what's on the agenda. And to close it off, I am bringing here my favorite checkout question. And you're all invited to pop it in the poll that just opened. And the question is, or the reflection is, I used to think ... and now I think ... If this is what a workshop, what a lens that you're wearing, is there something that you used to think and now that changed as a result of the reflection and what we've learned today? So I'll put some music. Fantastic. I love what's coming through. This is beautiful. As part of the journey, and let me just adjust the volume here quickly. As part of the journey, we are also having a handful of very generous L&D Shakers reviewing CVs, if that is useful. So if you would like to have a few extra set of eyes after the session with Emmy, we're going to inform you about that process. And also, if you're not part of L&D Shakers yet, feel free to join us. I popped the link in the chat to the LinkedIn group. We're inviting you then in Slack, because in Slack, we also have a career bootcamp channel in which everyone's invited, and you can kind of feedback each other's CVs as well and ask questions, so we can continue asynchronously between the sessions to communicate and support each other. And if you are currently working towards building a portfolio of your work that actually showcase the work you've been doing besides your transferable skills, we also have a project that is led by Cypria and Valentina and another other two shakers. It's called the Makerspace. Every month, they are rallying and building around a challenge, and they're building their portfolio with hands-on tasks. And you can find all that in the L&D Shakers community. So that was it. I want to give a big thank you to Grace and to Judit, because the bootcamp was their idea. So I think we haven't said that enough. And I think they deserve our love and appreciation and a big round of applause. This wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for them and their idea to bring this to life. And yeah, big pat on the back for all of you here taking 2 hours this Friday, 2 hours and a minute to tune in with us. We're going to share the mural board. Obviously, I have the link. Feel free to keep it. And we'll see you on the workshops next week and the week after and the week after. And enjoy your weekend. Have a good rest. We'll stick around for a while here if you are still checking out. Peace out.
Thank you.